great to see you guys. Episode 115. Here we go. April 12th, 1917. Great to see you, Tolemykus. And right off the bat with your quote, food will win the war. Herbert Hoover's rallying cry, U.S. Food Administration during the war. Yeah, let's be honest. Oh my gosh, neat to see you, Corvinus Wargaming. It wasn't, well, we're going to be doing your stuff. Great to see you. Awesome to see you as well, Charles Latora. Hold on, I want to see what the heck you're saying here. Let's put your thing on here. I'm laying out the counters for Habsburg Eclipse, and no, I have not read the rules yet. Fell asleep twice trying to read them yesterday. That was right on. Well, I'm glad to, that you have it up. Great to see you as well, Brian R. Smith. And who else did I miss? Oh my gosh. Yeah, William Arends, let me know where this is. I have no idea where that is. From St. Jacob's Farmers Market in Woolwich, Ontario. I have no idea where that is. Anyways, let's get on to the stuff. And I'm waiting for there's the certain person, Meandering Mike, because I didn't want to actually reveal a little bit of our narrative here. But I'm going to reveal it now as soon as I pop it on the ad of the stage. And then I've got to do this little thing, and it should. I'll remove this one, then add this one. Hey, there we go. All right, so here we go. Welcome, everyone. As per usual, 33 days to Can Games, as far as I know. Catch up on what we've been up to this week. Live stream fact checker and interesting tidbits. And there it is, the grand old Meandering Mike. Grand old for 1,000. Well done, man. Oh, I haven't watched your video about you mentioning that you were going to... that you've got 1,000 plus subscribers, and I don't know when you're going to be having some kind of celebration, but please let us know. I know it is so cool. Brian R. Smith, I noticed it last week, and it's just so neat because now it's like we no longer can see the actual individual numbers of subscribers for Meandering Mike. He's I guess joined the Mile High Club version of YouTube or something. I don't know. Anyways, I'll stop with that. Anyways. What we're doing is not only fun, but it's informative. And it just dawned on me actually this week when I was looking up at a lot of stuff, especially because I wanted to maybe start doing a bit of a different tack or change just a little bit more focus sometimes with the live streams. I know we try to cover so much in 1 hour, and there's no way in the world we possibly could do it. I was thinking actually this morning, I was walking somewhere. I was thinking if I could actually remain awake, I think we probably have enough material to easily go for a week, probably more, and just, you know what I mean, just continuously. It's just it's just crazy. Only 300 need to go, Brian Smith. Yeah, I know. It's just still. I was so happy to see it though, because I've tried to pull for Meandering Mike for a while ago, and it was just like it just seems like it just hits this weird ceiling or something. But thank you. Oh goodness gracious! Thanks, William Arends. Woolwich is one of the 4 rural townships that form a ring around the 3 cities of Cambridge, Kitchener, and Waterloo, which make up the region of Waterloo. Thanks, William Arends. So anyways, what I'm saying is, and then Corvinus Wargaming's provided, you're going to find out in a bit, provided some material for us. And then I was looking at some of the stuff with William Arends' ATA that he sent in, and I was trying to start looking at the Globe articles and seeing if I could start looking at some supportive evidence and some contradictory evidence. And I was like, and also just due to the fact that, look, like I've said before 1,000 trillion times, I am not a freaking, oh goodness gracious, Charles Latora. You don't even care about your subscriber count. You just love people and love gaming. Let's be honest. That's the way you are, man. And you know it. You know it, man. Anyways, what was I going to say? It just, look, like I've said before 1 trillion times, I'm not an historian or whatever, but I'm starting, like, we've got information here, and what we're doing, what we're sharing amongst each other, as far as I'm concerned, is not just fun, but it's informative. It's got value. And I'm starting to see things already, like just, I'm like, wow, we're seeing things develop in real time. It's just, I just find it absolutely fascinating. And I'm so glad that you guys are along for the ride with me for this, because you got, like I've said before, as well, again, I'm going to continue saying it. You're so motivational. So it's just really, really, really good. how to pull off a diversionary operation and when to launch the main offensive. Now, why I'm mentioning this is because right now, as we know, the battle, I don't know what it's called. If it's the full thing is called the Battle of Arras, but Vimy Ridge is part of it. And we just know that it just ends up ending today. I think it finally putters out. What is Charles Latora? And if you don't want me to start posting your stuff publicly, Charles Latora, well, it doesn't matter because you're putting it on the screen anyways in a weird way. Once the grandson starts talking, I'm doing to dub his voice in for mine because my voice sucks. Well done. Oh, that's cool. I like that one. Anyways, about this diversionary operation. And so what I want you guys to let me know is please let me know what you guys think is the way, when to launch the main offensive, like what for a diversionary operation. So, for example, the Battle of Vimy Ridge and the Battle of Arras was the British's contribution for a diversionary attack for the Nivelle offensive, which I think starts on the 16th. Not positive. That's why I was starting to connect the dots. When do you do the diversionary attack to draw the attention of your enemy away, and when do you do the main thing? Is what. So I let you guys like you to know. Nicholas Zudona Schlodain, I think that's his name. He's the captain of the Mauve, or I don't know if that's how it's pronounced. And you were. William Arends, you ended up putting it in. I'm not sure if we were talking about it last week, but I certainly noticed it in the papers this week when you mentioned that it was like the seabird and so on and so forth, and seagull. I think the mauve is the seabird, I do believe. You'll let me know. The Encyclopedia Britannica and gas warfare, I didn't take a picture, and I'm certainly not going to be scanning the encyclopedia because I don't want to screw around with the binding or any of that. Tolemykus says something, and I'm going to pop it on here. As they say, if you think there is a flaw, don't hide it. Accentuate it, lean into it, as they say. And yes, well done. Anyways, here we go. Martial law. I don't know if we'll quickly go through the articles, whatever. But I just want to pop these in a little bit. These are things that I've noticed, like I said, this week. Martial law has been imposed in Guatemala. So the first two countries, Latin American countries, that have actually officially declared war against Germany. Cuba was the first one, as far as I know. Then Panama. And Brazil right now, like you were saying, Charles Latora, earlier on in the week there, like good on them. And as far as I know, I don't think they've declared war yet, but they've certainly broken off broken off relations. Air superiority, propaganda, and Bloody April. Yet again, I don't know if we're going to get into it, but there's a few articles here from the British side of things. And you may think, at least when I was reading it, I was like, whoa, does it ever sound an awful lot like... the British are doing awfully good in the air, but in reality, this month is Bloody April, and you've got Baron von Richthofen over, for goodness sakes, he's over Vimy Ridge with his squadron and whatnot. You guys have to let me know. Please let me know, because I'd like to know about this right now. I don't think Richthofen is flying the Fokker triplane right now. I think right now he's flying an Albatross. Is he not? The D3 is. I would love it if somebody could go and find out for me. We're going to go take a look, hopefully, at an infomercial of sorts from an article. And I'm like, is this like maybe the beginnings of what they used to do, like we see nowadays? So, you start watching something, you think it's a news thing. It's like, no, it isn't. Interesting Irish developments. I think I was mentioning it to you earlier on as well, Charles Latora, when we do our little banter there of the headline comments, is the fact that, and I'm sure it's got something to do with the fact of what's been going on with the Russian Revolution. They're clamping down monstrously right now in Ireland, not allowing, from what I've been reading, remember, you always take everything I say with a grain of salt, that they're not allowing public meetings and so on and so forth in Dublin and whatnot. 15 Italian ships were sunken during the month of the week of April 8th. So that's quite a bit. Something's working down there in the Med. That's for bloody sure. Japan's friendship with the United States. I don't know if we'll also look at that article quickly, but I just thought it was interesting foreshadowing of what we know what's going to end up happening between the United States and Japan. There's an American politician right now saying, By the way, guys, let's see if we can at least maintain or strengthen the relationship with Japan going forward. This could be a good strategic move for us. I just thought that was interesting. Also, there you go, William Arends, a little nod to you about Kitchener, Ontario. There's an article about it today. They were actually going to send it off to England or something. I don't know, crazy or something. But they want the currency to be decimalized, which I thought, wow, neato, that you were going to do that. I don't know if we're going to get to it as well. Nellie McClung, she's a suffragette, I do believe. And she's got an interesting little tidbit about her son. I just thought it was a nice little story. It's quite nice. Palestine, and there's Corvinus Wargaming. There we go. Tolemykus says, from April 6th to the 12th of April, 1917, Baron Manfred von Richthofen, the Red Baron, was flying the Albatross D3, a German fighter aircraft widely used during that period of World War I. Oh, you're darn right it was. And it was extremely effective, and that's why I think it was called the reason of partially of Bloody April and whatnot. Quite interesting take on how they do things in that. Anyways, I mentioned that the Palestine thing due to the fact there's an inch. Look, I'm not sure. I did find the articles and pop them down super quick, and it was nice to know that Corvinus Wargaming provided us with some evidence that contradicts what I've been seeing in the Globe articles, and so has William Arends. And it also rang a little warning bell as well from what I was remembering about the 3 battles of Gaza. I think the first 2 didn't go too well for the Brits. With darn it, I can't remember his name. That he's got a really cool name. That German, the Baron. He's always on the screen. He's on the. That's him here. I don't know if you guys are going to be able to see him. It's that guy right there, von Kress. That's it. Kress von Kressman or something like that. He's a really interesting character. Anyways, the Brits in the articles are saying that it just to me sounded like they were already knocking on the door for goodness sakes in Jerusalem and all that stuff. Starting to already talk about being there for after Easter and all this stuff. I just thought that was mind-boggling. Kilroy was here. Great to see you. Hold on, I'm going to pop your thing on. Hello, all. Just dropping in to be enlightened before I need to commit to yard work. Oh, you poor little thing. But great to see you. Anyway, so that was nice to see that. And then I did take a look, and it's like, wait a minute, it is in fact quite misleading from what I've been noticing, anyways, with the Globe newspapers. That they're not that close. And it's going to be a neat little tidbit. I did scan it this morning. Hopefully, we'll get to it on a page of the thing there. Constantly, they keep mentioning about the Turks, 8,000 prisoners and so on and so forth, or whatever. And in that book, which is the same guy that does the Marked for Death or Ordered to Die book, which is a fantastic, Ordered to Die, fantastic book. Anyways, he says, no. If you actually look at the official Turkish records, they're way, way low. Kind of thing. But anyways, there we go. The perils of fighting in the war in East Africa. That was another article I found. I don't know if we'll ever get to it, but just take a look. This I'm certainly going to be recording with my little dictograph at some point. It's a beautiful letter that a woman writes to the editor of the Globe trying to find her pen pal. And it was fantastic. I really, really enjoyed it. The Edith Wharton book on page 109 to 111. Where she mentions the work of huge ants. And it just rang a bell of the Anthill from Pass of Glory movie. And then with Brian R. Smith mentioning it last week as well, when we were, looking at something. And then he said, boy, that would be a perfect little thing. Oh my gosh, there you are. Thanks, Brian R. Smith. And you know about her. Wicked. Nellie McClung, a Canadian born in Chatsworth, Ontario. Thank you so much, man. That's awesome. Holy moly. There we go. Anyways, Edith Wharton brought that up. And when I saw the work of, like I've said before, her writing is phenomenal. I just absolutely enjoy. It's just such a treat. I've been putting my foot down, my brakes on, trying to slow down reading her stuff. She's got a lot more books, so I'm okay. The town of Mousson. And maybe you guys can look this up for me as well, for us, which would be awesome. She says there's a little plaque there. It says here in the year 363 Javinus or something defeated the Teutonic hordes. I'm assuming he's a Roman. Anyways, you guys would obviously know more about it than I would. And then she also says that I loved, I've never seen this term before, and I just was like, whoa, what a fascinating way of putting that. The enemy subjected Rems to another tornado of shells. I was like, wow, what a fantastic way of like I said, just describing an artillery barrage. And I've never seen this word before in my life. I was like, what in the, like, boy, oh boy, can she ever do it? Premonstranesian monastery. I was like, okie doke. And then the war summary on April 9th, and the mention of the Germans assembled, and then in quotes, the Germans assembled a large force of special troops. And I'd like you guys, if you know or not, I don't know. Is this an example of the Strasstruppen? Is this like the first beginnings of the Germans taking a look at what they can do with specialized troops from what they've been learning? I have no idea. Also, that I've never seen this term before as well. It was in the war summary, I think, or one of the articles, probably the war summary. An aviation park. I thought that was kind of cool. And here, let's do our first little thing that should stop, at least jump things back and forth. My God, we're nowhere. I'm just talking about the stuff I'd like to talk about. We haven't even gone to the stuff. Maybe I'll go through the pictures super quick. We'll just do that and go backwards. I think why not? Let's do that. But I wanted to look at, what was the first one I wanted to take a look show you? It was the flyer, the airplane. Do I have it here? Oh, darn it. Is it the, well, let's just go through, is it flyers? Nope. It's the, wouldn't I call it the poster of the day? Warranty, nope. Image of the day, for goodness sakes. So here's, as you guys saw the image of the day. Now let's take a quickie look here. And I'm trying to figure out what the heck this plane is. Hold on here. Share the screen. Boink, boink, boink. Okay, I'm going to get rid of me so you guys can see this properly. Well, it didn't really matter, did it? So I'm going to make this bigger. Maybe that'll help. No, it didn't really seem to do much either. Now, that certainly looks like an albatrossy type plane, but it isn't as far as that. Look, do you see this little right here? This looks like a two-seater. Would you not agree? Here's the clincher for me, is this little bit on the tail. That's certainly not an albatross. And plus albatrosses for single seaters as far as I know. And there's a big crew here. So is this a bombing plane? You know what I mean? I have seen some bombing planes that have this little thing here, but we could find out. I'm wondering if we could even find out what the actual plane is with that number 8. I don't know. I don't know how specific those things are. But anyways, that was something I did want to show you. Let's jump in quick. Let's just go into the pictures. I think that's what we'll do, and then we'll start getting into the contributions. I think that's it. Because what we're going to see, gun mount or an opening at the front. Yes, Tolemykus, good one. And which means if that's the case with the gun mount at the front, you're starting to get me a bit more information when for later on when I was trying to figure out the okay, nice one. Okay, let's go. Yeah, let's just go one at a time here. I'm going to show you some of the things that I would like to take a look at, but we're not going to really take a look at. Some of the articles, like I said, I'll try to get it to, like I said, you won't be able to see that much. But so this is one I certainly would like to boink. There's the Battle of Arras. I'd like to go and I'd like to read that up and find out a little bit more about that type of stuff. But that looks really interesting, doesn't it? Let's see what else is I've got cooked up here. Oh yes, my first engagement, the story of a North Sea battle. I thought that would be also neat to take a look at some point. But just too much, eh? There's just too much stuff, guys. British flyers humble the Teutons in war's greatest aerial struggle. Penetrate 50 miles into foe territory and take 1,700 photos. From what I've been also, though, reading about, watching from the Indian Idol Great War stuff, is that this was also strategically different in the way that the Germans were approaching doing things. They were not allowing their airplanes to go past their front, whereas the British were, and so on and so forth. So the Germans were doing a much more defensive posture with their planes, from what I know. Toot toot again with you, Meandering Mike. We're not talking planes, trains. British flyers, humble Teutons. That's the second pick. So remember, it's Bloody April is coming up. Aha! Here's the 8,000 Turks lost in a single fight. So we are actually going to get to the bunch of Gaza things here. And then we can maybe quickly jump over to the ATA, or at least at the very minimum, we're going to go to the Corvinus Wargaming one. But I want you guys to take a look at this. Now remember, this is before it actually is starting to go properly well, from what I know, for the British right now. The Turks are in great shape, not the British. Yet it certainly sounds like the British are doing great, doesn't it? All right, and then here we go. British consolidate gains in Palestine. Yet again, it's starting to sound like, wow, we're doing awesome. And maybe they are continuing their successes, but certainly not that way, not in the way they would like. Turks smashed in Palestine. British triumph over an army of 20,000 men. 900 prisoners captured. Several German and Austrian officers are taken. British forces, blah, blah, blah. Now let's go. And there's another one. Oh, that's the second page. Okay. Aha. Here we go. So this is from that book that I just showed you down. Let's go down at the very end because that's where it is. And remember, this is now we're talking. So this is, hopefully they'll give us some dates. Okay, there's the dude, Von Kress, called off his envelopment on the 27th of March. When the final rolls were counted, Murray found he had suffered about 2,400 casualties. In an operational sense, Von Kress used Gaza simply as a lure to put Murray in a vulnerable position for envelopment. Whether 12,000 Ottomans would have prevailed over the two full-strength British infantry divisions that Murray had positioned for this very contingency is problematic. But given that the British were not in prepared defenses and moving, a meeting engagement might have developed in the desert east of Gaza. Time also appeared to be on Kemal's side because the Ottoman army's 53rd Infantry Division was arriving as reinforcement from the north and would have added distress to Murray's overextended British cavalry. Yes, the defeated Gaza seemed to indicate that the British army fighting the Ottomans failed to learn and adapt to the demands of modern war. Certainly Murray and the staff of the EEF were overly optimistic and badly underestimated the determination of the Ottomans. We had already read this before a few weeks earlier, by the way, but I wanted to get back down to this other bits. Murray himself even portrayed his defeat as somewhat of a Pyrrhic victory, noting that the Ottomans lost about 9,000 men while he lost about 4,000. Actual Ottoman casualties, remember we saw that 8,000 in the article. Actual Ottoman casualties were 294 killed and 1,078 wounded. British intelligence was weak and contributed to an erroneous picture of the Ottoman force at Gaza. Moreover, the British commanders at all levels lacked clear situational awareness and were unable to communicate effectively. And almost 2 full years after Gallipoli, coordination between the infantry and the artillery continued to remain very weak. It might be argued that Murray's organizational focus in 1916 and early 1917 was largely logistical rather than improving the tactical effectiveness of the EEF. And I remember, as we know, he brought in, or I'm not sure if it was him specifically, but brought in that engineer that was working on the Panama Canal to zip on over to start setting up water pipelines and whatnot. So they, that type of stuff. Martial law in Guatemala. There's the thing I wanted you guys to take a look at. And that's the hate worms thing I want to do a recording for. Oops. Hold on here. We're going to get rid of that because I don't think it's... Hold on. Where are we here? Infomercial. Aha. There it is. Oh, you haven't seen it yet. So this is those weird thing. I was like, is this an actual... Oh, my God. We haven't even done the trivia yet. Constipated children. I'm sorry. At first, I was like, that's a weird article. But then it says, you can see here, it starts going into nothing equals baby's own tablets and all that stuff. I thought that was, anyways, is this? Nope, that's Where's the Irish? Am I missing something? I thought it was the. Go away, you silly goose. No. So we're back to this again. Where's the Irish thing? Forbid public meetings in the Irish capital. So there you go, March 8th. Like I wanted to mention. So I knew there's something going on. Because I've been in Dublin. Republican flag is hoisted, but the police prevent trouble. And that's on the 9th of April. 15 Italian vessels sunk week of April 8th. There you go, Charles Latora. Japan's friendship should be retained. Advice given the United States by Dr. whatever. Mr. T. Point. There you go. Didn't he fight some boxer or something? Decimalize the currency, weights and measures, Kitchener Board of Trade. And we'll just keep on trucking down here. There's the Nellie McClung story, which it's not very long. It's really cute. Palestine, a battlefield since dawn of history. I certainly want to do the dictaphone on that thing. Oops. And where's the? Here we are. Oh yes, we're going to go to it. So this is for Mrs. Meandering because I didn't show the thing before and I didn't. You still can't see it. Hold on here. Trust me, we're getting to the other stuff. Boink. There we go. U.S. honors Shackleton on April 10th. Sir Ernest Shackleton, the Antarctic explorer. It was announced today has been elected to the honorary fellowship of the American Museum of Natural History, the highest scientific honor which the institution has to bestow. This is a recognition of his Antarctic explorations and his efforts in rescuing the members of his party. Sir Ernest becomes the 9th honorary fellow of the American Museum. Anyways, yeah, every time I see something like that, I'm like, okay, I might as well do it. This, I just chuckled my head off. Rubbers saved him. His horse was killed. It's just due to the fact that last week, Meandering Mike actually used that as an answer for the trivia thing, rubbers. And then lo and behold, this week we get a bloody article on, well, it's obviously not, it's about his rubber boots saving his life from electrocution where his horse got killed. But anyways, there you go. I wanted to put, oh my God, and in an ironic way, wouldn't that be weird if he ended up sending the horse to the glue factory and that glue was used for rubber boots? That would be rather interesting. All right, I think we've done all of them as far as I know. Yes, we have, until we get into the trivia thing. So I'm going to get rid of that, and then we're going to get into the trivia thing as soon as I show this bit. Yeah, because that way we'll find out what's been going, what I'm supposed to be talking about. So we've done all this. Yeah, General Allenby was present. I don't think he's present at the Battle of Vimy, but he's certainly present at the Battle of Arras, which I thought was rather interesting. Oh my God, this was so neat to read. Finding out that after knowing what Neville and the French were up to, the Germans reinforced the troops in the Chemin des Dames region from 9 divisions to 38. I was like, oh my God. Charles Latora, yes, you're playing and you're set up and you're about to play the Habsburg Eclipse game. And here's your engagement question of the week. If the Entente knew that the Americans had entered the war on their side, which they have, and that the Germans had retreated to the defensive-focused Hindenburg Line, which they have, why did they not wait for the Americans to arrive rather than going on a spring offensive, aka the Battle of Arras, diversionary thing, and then this, which we're going to find out, which is a disaster beyond belief, the Neville offensive, and then the French mutinies, and then they double down and go later on and get into the freaking Third Battle of Ypres and all that stuff. So there you go. There's your thing. I've never. Oh, what did you see? I don't even know what you guys are talking about anymore. So we'll leave it at that. So now we're going to get into the your first. Oh my gosh, I forgot to pop this in. So here you go. This is Harro Bosma, by the way, why he's not here today. Hey, Chris, I'm invited to a live concert. Family's performing. Whoa, really? I didn't read that bit. I assumed he was like at a barbecue, whatever. Family's performing. Cool. So I can't join today. However, listen to this or read this. By the way, I made it to the World War I Museum, and I'll make a PDF with pictures. I took 160 of them. Lord have mercy. Which I will send you. Stay tuned, Harro. Right on. All right. So here goes your very first. Oops. There's 2 comments. That sounds like an O. Henry story. O. Henry story with rubber boots and horse and glue factory. I don't know what who that whatever is, but anyways, they wanted to take advantage of the opportunity. Okay, Tolemykus, interesting. Okay, I'm not going to answer my. I'm not putting in my 2 cents worth, but there we go. Awesome. Charles Latora says they didn't. They didn't want to help from the colonies. I like that one. That's fascinating. Because as you, Bill, you know, there was a lot of like who was going to take control. Remember, they were like, oh yeah, bring the American soldiers over. We'll just integrate them into the army. And I think it was Pershing was like, what the hell? Not happening. We're when we go there, we're our own people, and that's just the way it is. All right, so here we go with the who or what am I in World War One. So I'm going to show you the first one. If you guys get this, I'll be stunned. What I was in charge of has been in the news a lot recently. Not him, not what he's in charge of. So it's who am I, and I'll put it in the comments as well. Hold on here, I got to get to it. And by the way, the after hours show is an hour long. My jaw dropped. I was wondering why in the world it was taking so long to. Ooh, I like yours. Hold on. What's going on here? Don't do that. Oh, it says share your referral link. I'm like, get away from me. There. Okay. Tolemykus says prostitution. You're going to get a point, but you are incorrect. All right. And there you go. There's your first clue. I'll get you your second clue. I was the only British artillery officer to ever command an army in the war. Who am I? Da, 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 da. Oh, it's a tricky one. This one's a dandy. This is going to be not an easy one this week. That's for sure. There you go. I was the only British artillery officer to ever command an army in the war. Who am I? And I'll give you your third clue. These are just a few places that I saw action in. Mons, Festubert, Gallipoli, the Suez, the Somme, Deville Wood, you name it. That guy's been everywhere. And let me pop it into the comments. Major. Oh, cool. I like your stuff. Hold on here. I got to get to your stuff. Oh, I knew it. I just had a crazy, weird feeling, eh? Let's be honest. Oh, brother. Oh, my. Well done, William Arends. I really liked your answer, but you are incorrect. Hold on. I'm going to pop it in, though. General Murray, you're well done, but you are incorrect. And we're going to get to you, Brian R. Smith. Of course, you got the bloody answer right. And Tolemykus says Major General. Oh, God. Nice one. I'm going to give you a bonus point for that for sure. That was well done. Hold on here. Oh, nice. And Meandering Mike says Major Boomer. You're going to get a point. And is he a real person? I mean, like some kind of character or whatever, that'd be interesting. Okay, I'm going to not let Brian R. We're going to give Brian R. Smith the thing in a minute. I'm going to give you the banners first, and then we can go from there. Who commanded at Gallipoli? He didn't. I don't know. Well, there was two commanders, as far as I know, at Gallipoli. Remember, there was the first guy that was a total screw up. And then they brought in another guy. This other guy who you're about to see was part of the evacuation process, as far as I know. That's what he was in charge of. Anyways, we're going to get into the banners. Hold on here. Perhaps my first biggie, though, I'm not going to put them in the comments, though. We'll just leave it at that. We don't have to do that. My first biggie, though, is Vimy Ridge. Supposedly, I never kept a diary, and that my wife burnt all my letters after I died. However, my granddaughters had them, and now the Imperial War has them too. And we might as well give the person the right the person who actually did it. Brian R. Smith, General Henry Sinclair Horn. Well done, sir. Well done, sir. You're now back in the lead. Just, I think. Oh, hold on here. 6, 7, 8. No. Your Meandering Mike will still be, well, because he just leapfrogged you last week, and with the questions that he just, those two clues that he popped in today, he's going to, he's still Those 2 points give him the lead. You would have been tied with him. Well done. That's so cool. Anyways, let's go to the. So yes, the answer is General Henry Sinclair Horne, First Baron Horne, and we're going to go. I'm just going to show him quickly. Can I do that? Yes, there he is. And supposedly he was just someone that seems to have flew under the radar. But my God, does this person ever have gotten around quite a bit? Oh, darn it! One of the clues was I forgot to put it in. Would have been a great clue. You want to know? Wash, we'll show you what the great clue was. Damn it. Oh, shoot. Oh, there he goes. Who's that? Oh, so that's after hours material. You stop. Jeepers jumping. Okay, here we go. I'm going to get rid of him for a second. Here, hold on here. You know what's the problem? I'm starting to get used to the reading glasses, looking at the monitors eventually, and it's not going to be a good idea. What did I say I wanted to show you? Oh, the picture. I don't know if I have the picture. Darn it. I don't think I do anymore. Oh, yes, I do have the trivia picture. Yes, this would have been one of the questions. Darn it. And I was like, this would have been great to get you guys on. I thought this would have really got you scratching your heads. Oh, shoot. Is this? He would have been one of the people in the picture. What's the connection to in the news recently? That he was I think one step above Bing and whatnot with the Vimy stuff, from what I know. Like he was the connection between the Brits proper and like he was in charge of the army that the Canadian Corps were in, as far as I know. That's what I think, Brian R. Smith. And that's why I put him in for the indirectly. So there you go. He would be this guy here, I do believe, correct? This is Mr. Horne. And I think this is Mr. Bing. And this is Mr. Haig. And look at that stash. My God, he makes me look like nothing. Jesus. All right, so now we're going to get into the other fun stuff, because we're going to go to, and I'm going to show you present the screen. Oh yeah, let's do this first. Boink. So this is because a couple of weeks ago, Meandering Mike mentioned that, oh, by the way, did you know that Ernst Younger also wrote a sci-fi novel? I was like, no. And then I went to see if I could go and purchase it, and it would cost me $1 bazillion. So I went off to the Internet Archive, and guess what? You can get his complete works. And there, I'm assuming, I haven't really looked at it, but you guys can see there. So anyways, I'll pop it in the links if you guys want to, or you can just go whatever. But anyways, it's there if you guys want to. And supposedly it's a half-decent book. It's a half-decent sci-fi novel. So there you go. And let me go just for there. Boink. All right. And then I'm going to stop this screen. And then I'm going to pop this back here, and then I can present the other thing, and then we can take a look at some of the other stuff, because now I want to start connecting the dots, especially when we only have 20 minutes left. Oh my gosh. All right, so you guys can see this here. So let's see so this is the material that Corvinus Wargaming submitted for us. And hold on here. He has another sci-fi book called The Glass Beast. I had no idea. Thank you very much, Corvinus Wargaming. The thing is, he seems like a really intelligent person. Holy moly. Let's see if I can do this right, Corvinus Wargaming. So it's the Desert of Clouds. And in Turkish, I'm assuming it's pronounced Musa Verçol. And this was a local newspaper, and it's about, it's going to be about, I just picked up the glass. Really? Cool, man. Oh, that is so neat. Oh my gosh! And thanks for reminding me. On a side note, Meandering, like, these are some books I picked up. I just felt like I just said, "Screw this! I'm indulging." I'll just do this off to the side so you guys can see it. I went and blew $140 at Chapters yesterday. Oh well, such is life. And one of the books that I did get was The Missing of the Psalm. It's not. This is not the book I want you to take a look at. Maybe you know about this one, Meandering Mike. It's Soldiers Don't Go Mad: A Story of Brotherhood, Poetry, and Mental Illness During the First World War by Charles Glass, ironically. But I guess it's about Wilfred Owen and or a bit about that. Really? Isn't that neat, eh? That some people just remember that other one there about that book, the Horse Lancers and whatnot, how much that person got right and wrong as well. And then this other book I did also pick up, which is about Hill 70. So that would be the not the Battle of Loos, which also has a battle for Hill 70, but this is the Canadian one. So it's something Third Battle of Ypres or something or whatever. But it's a graphic novel type thingamajig that you can see. I haven't even really looked at it. I was like, oh boy, this looks fun. Anyways, let's get back to the contribution stuff. Point done. All right. Hold on here. There we are. All right. So this is all in conjunction, and then we're going to zip back over to the ATA stuff and hopefully connect the dots with that. And remember those headlines that we saw, and also that little tidbit from the book about what I'm trying to clue into now is I've got to take everything with a grain of salt both ways. I mean, both ways are trying to sway me, and that's the way to go. All right, so here we go. This was a local newspaper from Beersheba in Ottoman Palestine. There appeared to have been 12 issues. The following is the translation of one of the articles. It looks like it's about the Battle of Gaza between the Entente forces and Ottomans with German and Austrian support on the 26th of March, 1917. So this certainly isn't the third one, which is when the Brits finally do it. And I'm wondering if the Decision Games one upstairs is therefore the third Battle of Gaza. Maybe somebody would know about that upstairs or in there. Here we go. Featured the Battle of Gaza. Our commander, and there was another interesting thing too. If Corvinus Wargaming is still around, he'll be able to let me know, or us know. Is I found some of the words rather interesting, the way they describe things. I was like, this is not German. This is not English. This is really neat. Our commander's good leadership and the heroism of our division's defense came as a result of God's favor and beneficence. Repeated attacks with bloody losses were driven away because the area outside our division's position was completely armed, end to end. The enemy fleet participated in the battle from the sea, which I found interesting. So they're still able to get their boats that way. That's a big naval ship. Remember, that was one of the reasons why the original when the Ottomans, the Turks there went, the original very first strike on the Suez Canal, why they did it where they did it, because they were trying to avoid getting nailed by the British ships. The pitched battle began at daybreak. Here we're getting into some interesting ways of describing things, I thought. The pitched battle began at daybreak and continued until evening darkness. That's just a neat way of saying it. I mean, obviously, they obviously would use morning darkness, which I thought was kind of neat. Like what do we have? Twilight and dusk, I guess. In the night, as a consequence of one of our attacks done by the left wing, the enemy right wing began to retreat. Hold on here. The Decision Games Gaza 1917 is second Battle of Gaza, starting on the 17th of April. Thank you. So you corrected me as well in that I already thought the first two had gone by, and they haven't. Where am I? With the nighttime camping, it is supposed that retreat began upon the enemy's entire front. In this battle, our soldiers displayed fitting heroism in battle. And that's that. Thank you so much, Corvinus Wargaming. And if you ever do provide us with more stuff, that would be freaking awesome. Okay, let's go to that. I'm going to just quickly, so we can connect the dots with this bit. I'm also going to read a little bit of my notes very quickly, Willie Manage, because I'm going to not. I didn't do too much with them, but I would have loved to have done. I still have time. It's only 38 seconds. The video of the week, I wouldn't mind showing you that. Let's see. The first article concerns the food crisis in Greece. That's what, and try and find supporting articles, which I did not do. What about the article concerning the Americans building wooden ships to combat and offset the shipping losses due to unrestricted submarine warfare? I was talking about this with Meandering Mike. It seems like once the Americans have their shipbuilding capacity up and running at 100% or whatever, they'll be able to pump out 2 wooden ships a day, which is pretty amazing. Corvinus Wargaming says, yes, I could share more. The Ottoman in this newspaper is pretty easy to read. Freaking out. Oh my God, thank you so much. Also for mentioning that, because now I can stop the screen for a second, which I really certainly wanted to show, is, if I can find it, please, 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 would be called Corvinus, would it not? I thought I would have had your bloody picture. Darn it. I thought for sure I had put your picture out here so that way we could actually see the actual script. Darn it. Oh, well, we'll have to go take a look at some other stuff. Are there any Ottoman newspapers of that time available anywhere? Tolemykus. Corvinus Wargaming is going to answer you. Third article is about the conflict near Gaza and the Turkish victory, and that's why I put it in quotes. Compare this with the Globe articles. Can I find out about the Turks' 125th Infantry Unit, which I have not? It's because they mentioned that in one of the articles that I think it's yours. We're going to go to your ATA, hopefully, William Arends, where they mentioned the famous one, that the 125th Infantry Unit did very, very well. What else did I say? I think that's about it. Let's get into that. Oh, yes, I do want to share that because I did mention this to one of the commenters that I was going to, and I would love to see what you guys would think about this as well. Hold on here. I'm going to present the screen. Nope, this one. All right. We're there. And we're going to go to your thing in a minute, but I want to go back to the narrative. And you guys can see that. Go through all this. Boom, 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 boom. Oh, here we go. The site I used has a lot of local newspapers. There's another site that has the Istanbul and large city papers archived online, but you have to pay a subscription. All right, so here we go. Oh, don't worry. I hope to God we get to your thing, Tolemykus. And I did. Oh, yes, this is what I wanted to get into, the Philosopher's Stone. So this person commented on the Encyclopedia Britannica thing, and he just made some interesting comments. And I thought, so I wrote back to him. He was talking about George Orwell and whatnot, and the stopping of printing books. And I was like, oh my God, combine that with Fahrenheit 451, and we're in a lot of trouble. And then I sent him a question, and let's see if I can find it. Did I put it in the banners? Hold on. Yes, I did. Wank. If I could be, and then I asked him if you could become one book, just like in the movie and whatnot. I'm trying. No, they didn't. Did they do that in the book at the end? I don't think so. I can't remember. It's been such a while since I've read it. But anyways, and you memorize a book and you become the book, and that's how you can get around the fact that they're getting rid of all the books. And then he says, if I could become one book, it would be Don Quixote. If I could become one writer, knowing what they knew, it would be Shakespeare. So I'm throwing that out at you guys. If you guys could be one book or whatever, please let me know. And I've never read Don Quixote. I don't even know what it's about. I've heard it a certain trillion times, that's for sure. And then he also continues on. Shakespeare extrapolates the human condition individually through dozens of characters, while Cervantes was able to do the same with two. Okay. So you guys hopefully know something about that, which would be great. And what did I say? Oh, yeah. Let's do the video. We're all right. Let's do the video. We'll break it up a little bit. We'll go to your ATA. We'll go to whatever. But because we're not going to go to the World War I thing. I would have loved to have talked about that type of stuff. Maybe we'll do it another week. The editorials, that was the other thing. I did show you those big things that I would like to do to post at some point. Big question. Would have to think. Excellent, Tolemykus, and maybe you'll come back to us next week. That'd be great. And I mean it. I'd like to know. Via's Vengeance. I noticed this on Consin Forum, and remember we were looking at all this type of stuff, which was kind of neat. So, anyways, high flying dice games actually has a game about this, which I thought was like, whoa, neato. And then the Ernst Younger collection, we took a look at that, and the rubbers. All right, so let's go and take a look. Let's go into. I'm going to get rid of this. We don't need this. We're going to go to your ATA very quickly. And I didn't do a week that was, which is great because we're down to 10 minutes and we don't have too much time left anyway. So like I said, the after hours is 1 hour long. What in the world was I going on? Well, I'll be honest with you. It got to the point where I realized the value that I'm getting out of this, especially when we start being able to take a look at what's going on. And we've got several sources now that are, in real time of what's going on. And there's some conflicting stuff from the normal history, which I think is pretty darn cool as far as I'm concerned. But anyways, here we go. I don't think we did this one. Oh my God, did I want to see this? It broke my heart, William Arends, when you saw that. That's why it's in here. Because I went, wait a minute, this better not be the truth. And it's making me sad. It is making me sad too. That's why I highlighted it here. William Arends. Oh yeah, you provided me with so much information, William Arends. I'm gonna, yet again, like I said, what I would like to do going forward with some of these streams is being able to put a bit more focus and go, okay, let's spend 15 minutes on one of your articles and so on and so forth, and rather than just hop around way too much. Anyways. It's sad to note that the nonpartisan newspaper phrase no longer appears anywhere in the front page banner. What a bummer. And it's going to be, I swear to God, William Arends, it's almost like I jinxed myself because I didn't know about this. I did in the after hours war summary when I was reading it out last night. I made a snarky comment because Stuart Lyon, the Canadian correspondent at the front, pops up again, and I'm like, my God, this guy's around all the time. And I make a comment saying, boy, wouldn't it be funny if Stuart Lyon got a job at the nonpartisan newspaper? And I'm like, how that would be a conflict of interest. And now it's gone. So maybe he did get a job at the newspaper, and he's the one getting it omitted. Who the hell knows? I don't know. Perhaps conditions required the editorial board to end any appearance of press neutrality. Yeah, they just hired Stuart Lyon. The first article deals with 2 locations involving the Turks. Only positive outcomes for the Turks are reported. Now we're jumping the whatever. Oh well. The second is a translated reprint of an article from an English newspaper that shows how serious the English see the U-boat war. Well done. The last, oh my God, and I didn't even take a look at it this week, but that's it. That was why when it nailed me to the cross with this, when I went, holy smokes, are we ever on to something, is due to the fact that I can, remember, we've been seeing for the past few weeks, once the Russian Revolution kicked in, of how great this is going to be for the Allies. How great everything's going to be, and this is wonderful, and all the people are behind it, and it's going to be a rejuvenated Russia and all this stuff. And this week, starting to see the cracks of develop in in some of the newspaper headlines, and I went, holy smokes, we're right there in real time seeing this. The power play already starting to go between the provisional government and I guess the Reds, the beginning, the proto-Reds or whatever. And I went, oh my goodness gracious. And as we know, Lenin's probably already there now. He was on a train there, remember, a little over a week ago. Wow. I was just, and Sammy's, that's what nailed me when I realized what's going on right now. Turkish success on the Iraq front. Constantinople, 11th of April, 1917. An official army report from 10th of April, 1917 at the evening of the day on the Caucasus front. On our right wing, one of our heavy reconnaissance units made a successful attack on the enemy lines. The enemy lost 15 and 2 captured. Okay, on a side note, this will be my private little thing for the week. I'm going to try to track down and figure out what that flipping plane was. That would be so cool. Well, I'll give you whatever, so you guys can go, I don't think so. Or, you're right. The enemy lost 15 and 2 captured. Besides that, we took 34 of their animals. I just thought that was really funny. there were no losses from our side. Iraq front, since 2 days ago, the combat activity has increased again. On the right bank of the, oh my God, and on Tolemykus, your quote there at the very beginning when you said that food wins wars. And I was thinking on a flip side, lack of food loses wars. Think about what's happening with the naval blockade. Well done, man. Thank you so much. On the right bank of the Tigris River, our rear guard threw back the enemy advance guard and secured through that action, for the most part, the possibility of free movement to be able to occupy a new position on schedule. On the left bank of the Tigris, our troops are still involved in combat activity with the enemy. Yesterday, active artillery and infantry fire had taken place to the north of the left bank of the Diyala River. Our motivated troops sent an enemy cavalry division back 15 kilometers to where they once more were able to put up a resistance. Further to the northeast, artillery and machine gun fire supported an enemy cavalry regiment attempting to cross the Diyala River. But our opponents did not get to use their chosen crossing point there, and many of their riders drowned in the Diyala. On the Persian border, east of Revanduz, our troops had to deal with and repulse not only the numerically superior Russians, but also conducted a successful counterattack that sent the enemy 20 kilometers further back in an easterly direction. Thank you, William Arends. And we have 4 minutes left. You know what? Let's go, because at least find out what we were supposed to do. Because remember, William Arends, you, I think, picked E. Did you not pick E for the disappearance of the Golden Cipher, Ottoman Turkey, 1917? Because we have not done the Smuggler of Louvain, Belgium, 1914. That would have been this week, which we're not going to get to because I want to not jump. And anyways, there's enough stuff to talk about when we get down to here. Trust me, I got to get to it. And then we got an hour long after hours. It's crazy business. Hold on here. We're getting there. We're getting there. Nope. 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 Oh, Lord have mercy. We're almost there. Nope. Geez, I can't believe we've done this many. So remember, that was in 1970. And yes, Meandering Mike, what was your bloody, your option F, which was quite good, wasn't it? Something about apple pie or something. I thought it was actually good. But anyways, here we go. With British forces advancing through Palestine and Arab revolts growing stronger, the Ottomans had less than 24 hours to recover the Golden Cipher before it could be used against them. Question: if you were in charge of Ottoman counterintelligence, what would be the best course of action? A, immediately seal off the city's ports and train stations, preventing any suspect from leaving until the cipher is found. B, spread false information through Ottoman intelligence channels, ensuring that if the cipher was stolen, and we still have time to go to the video of the day and then we'll go off to Wonderland, it would contain misleading data. C, launch a rapid raid on the suspected British hideout in Constantinople, hoping to recover the cipher before it is smuggled out. D, torture the captured double agent for... thank you, Meandering Mike. Tortured the captured double agent for information, pressing them to reveal whether they had the cipher or knew who did. E, burn all remaining Ottoman code books and issue entirely new ciphers, even though this would delay communication with frontline forces. And if I remember, that is what you picked, William Arends. I think I would have picked... Probably B. Probably B. Meandering Mike says, on the apple pies and bake them into a pie. Well done. And Corvinus Wargaming says C and then E. Interesting. I wouldn't have picked C because I thought that would have been too risky. But anyways, now let's go and find out what we should have done. Clues and false reports. We're not going to get too much into that. So I don't want to get into too much discussion topics. How did espionage shape the outcome of World War I, particularly in the Middle East? Oh my gosh! Remember we were talking about the Bureau of the Orient or whatever it was that the Germans set up, which is I think Corvinus Wargaming knows a ton about. What role did the Ottoman intelligence service play in countering Allied operations? How remember they even wanted to? They were like, yeah, Kaiser, yeah, he's converted to Islam. Oh yeah, that type of stuff. How did Decept? Mind you, remember the Kaiser was quoted as saying that if he was going to pick a religion, he would have picked Islam, which I thought was quite interesting. How did deception and false intelligence impact major military decisions? What were the risks of relying too heavily on coded messages during wartime? Could a single document like the Golden Cipher realistically alter the course of war? Oh, brother, I think everybody got it wrong. Oh, my God, didn't I pick B? I think I did pick B, didn't I? My God, I think I got one right for once. And my manager Mike says, I try A. Awesome. Let's find out why we weren't supposed to do. Actually, I was thinking yours would have been. I thought yours was a good idea too, as well, manager Mike. The best answer is B. Spread false information through Ottoman intelligence channels, ensuring that if the cipher was stolen, it would contain misleading data. While sealing off the city, A might slow the thief. It would also create chaos and make it harder to pinpoint the true culprit. Raiding the British hideout, C, was too risky as it would have been a trap or a false lead. Torturing the double agent D would take too long and might yield false confessions. Burning all, that's what I thought too, the false bit. Burning all remaining code books, E, would cripple Ottoman communication at a critical time. By spreading false intelligence, the Ottomans could make the stolen cipher useless or even use it to trick the enemy. This tactic had been successfully used before, including by the British in the Middle East. In the end, the real golden cipher was never recovered. Oh, wow. But the misinformation campaign helped delay British advances, allowing the Ottomans to reorganize, at least temporarily. And oh my God, I'm just saying. I'm not saying this, whatever. What happens if that is also connecting the dots with the battles of Gaza? Okay, when did this happen? Let's go up again. 1917, goodness gracious me. I'm just saying, maybe this was also, remember, oh my God, it would be interesting to maybe read up a little bit more on the first and second battles of Gaza and see if it was indeed where the Ottomans were doing some whatever and the British were getting a couple of times, as in, oh my, wow, wouldn't that, I'm sorry, that would be rather neat. I'm going to get rid of all of this for now. Then we're going to super quickly go off to the, which will segue into the after hours, anyways, because I'll be on the, I'll be in YouTube. So hold on here, and then we'll go to that. Share the screen. YouTube, boink, and then go to my playlists. We'll go to Critical Pass. Like I said, it's only like 40 seconds. And it was for British troops that are, oh yes, I forgot. I was supposed to put it in the banners. Did I put it in the banners? Probably not. Nope, I did not. All right. But I maybe read it out or something. But anyway, it's not very long. And let me get rid of me so you guys can see this properly. Yeah, so this is time for Diet Coke, the proper answer to all failed. So yeah, there they are, man. This is the Battle of Arras. Like, the Vimy Ridge. This is going on right now. That's it. I wanted you guys to see that, and then we can temporarily go to here. And Diet Coke is always a good answer to a difficult day. I used to be a Monster Pop drinker, not anymore. Okay, so let's go to. By the way, I'm just curious. What is your favorite drink of choice? You guys into are you guys all into soft drinks? I know that Charles Latora likes his Gatorade. That's for sure. And I think everybody knows I'm into coffee. Oh my God. Did I put it in here? Please, Lord Jesus, I did. All right. Okay, guys, so it's 12:04. Did I forget anything? Probably lots of things. But I am going to say thanks again. I hope I'm about to mute myself and turn into a texter like you guys. Hope to see you guys for 116, which I hope is next week. I hope you guys have a great remainder of your weekend. Freaking awesome week. Oh my gosh, here you go, Tolemykus. Bourbon, but hard to keep that up, I guess so. What is that? I have no idea what that is. Diet Coke mixed with cran. Oh, that would be interesting. All right. There we go. We're gonna go. So, anyways, thanks again, guys, and hopefully we'll get to more. Yeah. William Arends, like I said, I'm not saying take a break, but as you know, you could probably take a break for quite a while. You provided me so much information, but what I really want to do, because I just really want to start connecting it with other bits of information so we can start seeing, gleaning more, like picking, stuff out of it and start seeing whatever. Anyways, that's it. Off I go. I'm going to share my screen. Hold on here. Point. There you go. All right. Bye, guys. I'm going to hit the funky thing. All right, hold your horse. Oh my God, I will freak. If that thing is off, I'm going to freak. Well, I can hear it, so you guys, okay, just hold on. We'll get to it. Present the screen. Also use the share audio tab. Yep. Okay, I'm going to turn my thing off. Let me know if you can hear it. But over the greater part of this front. Yep, it's called After Hours for a reason. Holy F. This one for sure is also literal because I am tired and shouldn't be doing this, but we'll see how this goes. Live stream 115, the After Hours War Summary for April 6th to the 12th, 1917. Here we go. A powerful German attack against the French was launched yesterday to the northwest of Rheims along a 1.5 mile front, according to the midnight official report from Paris. The object of the enemy was to gain possession of the left bank of the Ain Canal, but over the greater part of this front, the French regained their first line trenches. The Germans assembled a large force of special troops for this attack. Orders found on dead German officers showed that the object of the attack was to drive the French from the left bank of the canal. French counterattacks are now being made for the recovery of the positions penetrated and held by the Germans. The official report from Berlin refers to the offensive as an elaborately prepared and vigorously executed undertaking. It claims that the French suffered a sanguinary reverse. The midnight French report shows that although the French were driven from their first line trenches, they immediately recovered most of the line. All right, let's start with a bit of editorializing. First of all, is this the first beginnings of us seeing the Strasstruppen when they mention that there's special German troops? Also, what is it saying here? Oh yeah, the elaborately prepared and vigorously executed undertaking, which is exactly what has just happened or about to happen, because we're only at April 6th, so it's not till the 9th. Vimy Canal, the attack on Vimy Ridge, which was elaborately prepared, monstrously so. I just think it's neat that both sides are doing it. Anyways, here we go. Fighting in the Argonne region is reported from Paris, and I wonder why it takes 300 years to do this. The Germans used flaming liquids in a surprise attack at Vienne-le-Château, but repulsed by the French guns, leaving a number of dead and prisoners behind. On the left of the Meuse, north of Hill 304, the French guns inflicted heavy losses on the enemy. In Lorraine, in Grimsby sector, a German train was shelled and some wagons were set on fire. In other parts of the French front, the artillery was active, the French guns silencing the enemy's batteries north of Uvelire. Down with England at any price is the battle cry of the Germans in the new war loan campaign. In a letter by Professor Ernst Heinrich Haeckel of the University of Jena, he describes England as the destroyer of peoples and a country that suffers from swell-headedness. The learned professor counts upon the U-boats to bring Britain to her knees. All right, and another thing I have to remember, just due to the fact that I've the lateness of the week and the way it's going, I didn't finish reading the war summary, so some of this is going to be news to me when we get to it later on. Anyways, here we go. A German thrust. Oh, yes, there's going to be an interesting little thing coming up. At least I did see this. What the heck did they use? A fascinating term for artillery. I was like, whoa, what an interesting way of putting it. We'll see it. A German thrust at the Russian line on the Galician border south of Brody, which began on Tuesday last, developed on Wednesday into heavy fighting. After artillery preparation, the German infantry made 6 attacks, carrying in the last assault a portion of the Russian trenches. This was recaptured in a counterattack. On Tuesday, the Germans forced the passage of the Stockade in Volnia and captured an ammunition dump on the left bank of the river, inflicting heavy losses on the defenders. Yeah, we'd seen this earlier. We'd talked about this. The Russians, well, at least I did with Charles Latora, the Russians, to avoid being cut off, crossed to the right bank of the river. The Petrograd report states that only a few men of 3 regiments succeeded in reaching the right bank. The Stockade, a marshy stream choked with reeds on either side, was the scene of fierce fighting last summer when the Russians drove back Pubalo's army and captured 300 officers and 40,000 men and 49 guns. I'm assuming that must have been part of the Brusilov offensive. One of the bloodiest battles on the Eastern Front ended when on July 28th last, Sakharov entered Brody, about 40 miles northeast of Lemberg. The Germans in this region have opened a heavy artillery fire on the Piniaki Chopoli Zvijan sector. Apparently, the Germans have anticipated a Russian offensive against Lemberg and Kovel and have struck before the Russian preparations were completed. Oh my God, I want to play my game so bad when I read places like Lemberg and Kovel. I'm like, oh my God, and the table's just over there. A Mexican move to the American borders reported from El Paso. Troops in the 3 border states, Nuevo Leon, Coahuila. Oh, I'm sorry, Charles Latora, that I'm screwing those 2 ones up. And Chihuahua are said to be advancing. I probably screwed that one up as well. Carranza officials state that the northwesterly movement of troops in Chihuahua is directed against Villa. Northeast of Roselle, on Le Catalet Road, the British pushed forward, occupying the village of Rosnoy and Bas-Boulogne. East and northeast of Metz-en-Couture, the British troops met with considerable resistance, but reached the southwestern edges of the Gouzecourt and Havrecourt woods in the advance on Cambrai. On the Balkan front, the guns were active along the entire line between the Vardar and the lakes, particularly in the region of the Trevino-Stina. British aircraft bombarded an aviation. Oh yes, this is so cool. I've never seen this before as well. Bombarded an aviation park at Budovo. It just sounds so, that's a cool way of, just so neat. Anyways, Count von Bernstorff is to be assigned to the German legation at Stockholm, according to a dispatch from the Swedish capital. The relations between Sweden and Russia have been considerably improved since the war, but Bernstorff may be trusted to organize the anti-Russian sentiment that exists. A junction of forces in Mesopotamia is reported in a dispatch from Petrograd. The Russians have cleared the enemy out of western Persia and have reached Kanakin, linking up with General Maud's forces. Kanakin is over 100 miles northeast of Baghdad. Another town occupied by the Russians is Kasrikin. Now that the Anglo-Russian forces are in contact, a new phase in the campaign opens up, which will close only when the Russians hoist their flag at Constantinople. In the meantime, the capture or destruction of the enemy in Asiatic Turkey is the immediate task in hand. The Hindenburg Line does not include Saint-Quentin, and it's, oh, bloody hell, stop, Christopher. And its capture by the Allies will not mean the breaking of the German position. Remember that town that was talked about last week, and the Allies kept saying, oh, we got it in the bag, no problem. Such is the conclusion of the British War Office expert, General Maurice. Cavalry skirmishing has given place to infantry advance now that the British are in contact with the enemy's new line. The change in the method of advance, although involving heavier fighting, has better results in the capture of German prisoners and supplies. On the northern section of the Western Line, the enemy now occupies strongly fortified positions along which he evidently intends to put up a determined fight. Northwest of Rheims, where for the past 2 days heavy fighting has been in progress for possession of the left bank of the Ain Canal, the French are making progress to the east of Stapignol. The enemy subjected Rheims to another tornado. This is it. This is the one. To another tornado of shells. On the remaining sections of the French line, the fighting was continued to artillery. Raids were made in the Argonne and prisoners captured. North of Saint-Quentin, the British strengthened their hold on the defenses of the town by seizing the village of L'Empire north of Rançoy. Rançoy is 10 miles north of Saint-Quentin. The official dispatch reports the capture of prisoners when the village was taken. A large number of German dead were counted. The fighting between Arras and Saint-Quentin during the past week resulted in heavy losses for the enemy. 10 miles southeast of Arras, the British yesterday advanced north of Leroy and after a stiff fight repulsed a German counterattack. East of Arras, the enemy's trenches were entered and 8 prisoners were taken. At Wittscheid, between Ypres and Armentières, the British raided the enemy along a front of 300 yards and captured 21 prisoners. East of Ypres, a mine was exploded. Long-distance raids by British aircraft were made. Important railway junctions and aerodromes were bombarded. The coast of Kent was bombarded on Thursday night by a German aeroplane. 8 bombs in all were dropped on Kentish towns, but there were no casualties, and the damage to property was negligible. Hold on, I'm going to pause for a second. A German offensive in the Riga region succeeded in penetrating the Russian lines, according to an official dispatch from Petrograd. In a fierce counterattack, the Russians regained their lost trenches. In the fighting at the Stockade, Bridgehead reported yesterday the Germans claimed to have captured 9,000 Russians, 15 guns, and 150 machine guns. The Germans are using shells charged with poisonous chemicals. On the Romanian frontier, the Russian position between the Jacobini and Valaputna Road and the railway was attacked, but the enemy was dispersed with rifle and machine gun fire. On the Monastir Cerna front, the Italian troops beat off 5 grenade attacks by the enemy in the neighborhood of Hill 1050. In the Dobruja, north of the village of Carvan, French aircraft bombarded the enemy's battery. The reform movement in Germany, which was initiated by the Prussian government under the pressure of the Russian Revolution, is growing in strength since the United States broke with Germany. On a side note, I don't know if we're going to put them. I haven't been putting them in the daily headlines, but I'd like to talk about them in the live stream. There is a ton of clampdown going on in Ireland right now. On the side note, just to let you know, I'm sure the British are freaking out because of what's been going on. No, they're not stupid. From Copenhagen comes the news that the modernization of the Prussian constitution is regarded in all except reactionary circles as a necessary military and political measure, owing to what the Vortwärts newspaper describes as the tempest of the world's public opinion. Yeah, they were like, there's no longer, I don't think you're allowed to meet in public practically of like a certain number in Dublin and all this type of stuff. There's no screwing around anymore. Socialists and moderates alike in Germany now demand a declaration from the government at Berlin of its willingness to favor peace without annexations. The conviction is growing in Germany that the entry into the war of the United States ensures the ultimate defeat of German arms. It is too late in the day for Germans to dictate the terms of peace for what the article in the Verwurz means. The peace terms have not been laid down by the Allied nations, and these involve changes in the map of the world. Significant, however, of the changed relations between the people of Germany and their rulers is the freedom with which these discussions as to the democratization of the Constitution are now carried on in the fatherland. That Cuba will enter the war and seize all interned German vessels in Havana harbor is regarded by the Cuban newspapers as practically assured. President Medical, in his message to Congress, has asked it to follow the lead of the United States by declaring that a state of war exists between Cuba and Germany. Cuba will be able to help the United States very materially by mobilizing its food supplies and other resources for war purposes. Cuba has a population of over 2 million. The chief food product of the island is sugar. Following the disturbances of 1906, it was occupied by American troops until the stable government was restored in 1909. President Wilson yesterday set his seal to the Act of Congress, kaboom, which declares that a state of war exists between the United States and Germany. Premier Lloyd George, on behalf of the British War Cabinet, issued a statement to American newspapers that voices the sentiment of all the British peoples regarding the action of the President and Congress. In this statement, the British Premier welcomes the American nation into the circle of world powers and places emphasis on the fact that it held back until fully convinced that the fight was not a sordid scrimmage for power and possessions. Oh, the irony. But an unselfish struggle to overthrow a sinister conspiracy against human liberty and human rights. Two things to say. I'm going to say this for flippin' sure. One, was I ever way more excited about when Germany declared unrestricted submarine warfare just a little while ago. Why? Because that was the domino effect. 100%. Secondly, 100% does Lloyd George nail it right bullseye. This is the time that the United States becomes a global superpower. These guys mean business forever. Well, until China tells you to forget it. Anyways, we'll stop. The seizure, because I don't know what's really going on in the real world. So, come on. The seizure of German vessels interned in American ports began yesterday morning following the action of Congress in declaring that a state of war exists. German vessels in American ports number 91 with a gross tonnage of about 600,000. It is not, too bad it wasn't 97. But anyways, it is not yet known whether the vessels will be utilized by, well, maybe somebody miscounted, utilized by the United States. The port authorities acted on orders issued by the Secretary of the Treasury. The vessels range in size from the mammoth Vaterland of 54,000 tons to small sailing ships. 27 vessels were seized at New York alone. Hereafter, the port of New York will be closed to all shipping after 6 p.m. every night during the war. German submarines in Mexico, oh, this is so cool, isn't it? German submarines in Mexican waters to the number of at least 20 it is unofficially reported, ready to carry on a submarine campaign on this side of the Atlantic. What ifs, man, what ifs? A Washington Dispatch says that the first intimation of their presence in the Gulf of Mexico came through from a well-informed neutral source in Europe. So, who would that be? Be interesting to try to figure that one out, eh? Who do you think? I'm going to go with, what do you think? We'll have to figure out who's been going there. That's the way, or maybe it was someone chit-chatting at a dinner party or something. Anyway, some of the enemy submarines, it is reported, reached Mexican waters in February. So, no, it doesn't mean that. I just would love to figure out who this neutral source is. Texas Dispatch says that pro-American sentiment is spreading in Mexico and that General Carranza seems determined to clear all pro-Germans out of the Mexican army. Public opinion in Mexico does not, it appears, take kindly to German intrigue against the United States. All uncertainty on this head should soon be cleared up, as the attitude in Mexico cannot long remain in doubt. War preparations in the United States are now going forward at topmost speed in all public departments. A raid on Turkish forts on the Bosporus was made yesterday from the Black Sea by Russian seaplanes. Bombs were dropped on the enemy fortifications, the seaplanes returning in safety to the Russian Black Sea fleet. The Turks sent airplanes aloft to engage the Russian seaplanes. Enemy aircraft attacked the Russian warships, but were defeated in aerial encounters. The Turks are being pursued northwest of Kanakin on the Diyala by combined British and Russian forces. With the aerial raid on the Bosphorus, the fight for Constantinople is now about to begin in earnest. As soon as Mesopotamia is cleared of the enemy, the big drive on the Ottoman capital will begin. Brazil is incensed by the sinking of the Brazilian steamer Parana and the drowning of 3 of her crew, and threatens to declare war on Germany. There is great excitement at Rio de Janeiro. The Brazilian foreign minister is quoted as saying that the situation is grave. It is expected that the interned German ships will be seized by the Brazilian government. Austrian and German consulates are closely guarded against attacks by the mob. Woof. The British advance in the vicinity of the Bapaume-Cambrai. Now it's all new to me now. Bapaume-Cambrai Road and the fierce fights for the mastery of the air are the principal items of interest from the war fronts. The French guns were busy on the Belgian front. At Saint-Quentin, the Allied guns are pounding away incessantly at the enemy's defenses. Around Arras and Ypres, interesting developments are expected. The British Midnight Statement reports progress in the vicinity of the Bapaume-Cambrai Road on a front of 3,000 yards north of the village of Louverval. A number of successful raids were captured out at various points. Southeast of Ypres, where the 18 prisoners were taken in a raid, the enemy trenches were found to be greatly damaged by the fire of the British guns. A German destroyer was sunk and another badly damaged on Saturday night by British combined sea forces off of Zeebrugge, the German submarine base on the Belgian coast. That's because you let them get there. Attacks, you could have had your a chance at the very beginning. I was told that by a historian. That's all I got to say. And I believe him. Attacks on Zeebrugge were carried out by seaplanes, which dropped explosives on the Zeebrugge mole. Aerial raids also were made on Ghent and Bruges. All the British machines returned in safety. Other operations, apparently by the boats from which the seaplanes were launched, or by submarines, were made off of Zeebrugge, resulting in the sinking of one German destroyer and the disabling of another. A Russian landing on the Black Sea coast west of Trebizond was made from a torpedo boat. The landing was effected near the mouth of the river Turma, about 38 miles east of Samsun. The same boat captured 10 sailing ships with valuable cargoes. A Russian submarine operating in the Bosphorus sunk a sailing ship. An Italian victory in Tripoli is reported in a Rome dispatch. General Cassini has engaged and routed a rebel Arab force of 3,000 men in the Zawaro sector. Vast quantities of arms and supplies were taken. And that would be, assuming, Tripoli, Libya, not the Tripoli in Lebanon, or what we'll call Lebanon, Sinai, I guess, right now. The fight for the mastery of the air is more intense now that the opposing armies are in contact on the Western Front. British air squadrons were particularly active last week, reconnoitering and fighting. 1,700 photographs were taken of the enemy's positions and works far in the rear. In addition, 8 tons. Well, we're going to be talking about this in a second. So I did read this bit. In addition, 8 tons of bombs were dropped on important enemy communications and ammunition dumps. In the fighting that followed, the Germans put a large number of machines into the firing line. The British in these encounters lost 28 machines, a large number of which were brought down in the enemy territory. The German casualties also were heavy, 46 crippled machines having been driven to earth, of which a large proportion were destroyed. Large quantities of explosives were dropped on German transports, aerodromes, and on a battery in action. In one aerodrome, 3 German hangars were destroyed, and a number of buildings in the vicinity were hit. 10 enemy observation balloons were brought down in flames. A Berlin official report claims that during the past month, 161 Allied aircraft were destroyed. Reuters correspondent at British headquarters says that although the German aerial service has been reorganized and improved in efficiency and boldness, the Allied flyers are confident of their superiority over the Germans. All right, let's start monstrously with what's going on here. So this is a big mishmash from all kinds of sources. So none of this, remember, I'm regurgitating stuff. This is nothing, whatever. I'll tell you once in a while what I think, but let's be honest. Anything factish, it's either just like I've morphed it or whatever. Don't ever give me credit, please. A, the British think they have British superiority right now. They're about to get their clocks cleaned. Remember, this is called Bloody April by the British for a flippin' reason. They're going to get monstrously in trouble. I think right now the Albatross D3 is in monster use right now. The Jasta, whatever, I think, well, I know for a fact that the Red Baron is just flying around Vimy Ridge, for Christ's sakes. I don't think he's in his triplane yet. I think he's flying an Albatross D3, I think. People let me know. The other thing is the sheer volume of planes when you hear about like 46 crippled machines. The other thing is the fact is that there's so many more airplanes in the sky now. It's nuts. And I'm remembering the movie Red Baron, which is a freaking awesome movie, by the way. I don't care if it's historically inaccurate. Who cares? It's a great film. There's some amazing aerial combats where you see all the aerial balloons up there, and there's, oh my gosh, it's just fantastic. Anti-aircraft fire planes all over. It's really, really well done. Okay. I will say this on the side note, just because I'm just being a whatever. I still want to listen to the sound because I want to know if they're using the interrupter gear sound for the machine gun, because it should be a staccato effect. You should hear to the machine gun fire because it's not continuous. But if they're using a continuous machine gun sound for the airplanes, then we know they're not, being whatever. But it's like, my God, you just said it was historically inaccurate. Oh, it's hilarious. It really is. All right, here we go. Oh my God, and we get the German spy system. Oh, goody. Cuba stands with the United States and is the first of the Latin American nations to side with the Allies against Germany. President Menocal has fixed his signature to the joint resolution of both chambers, declaring that a state of war exists between Cuba and Germany. Not a single dissentient voice was raised. Immediately following Cuba's decision, 4 German warships interned in Havana Harbor were seized. Although relatively small as a military unit, Cuba, by her action, prevents the use of her harbors by the enemy as a base of supplies. The German spy system has taken deep root in American soil. Now that the United States is at war, the pro-Germans have fewer friends. Secret Service agents have discovered that until a few weeks ago, a powerful wireless receiving plant of the most expensive kind, I'm sorry, I'm just loving this stuff to death, expensive kind, had been in operation on the roof of the Fifth Avenue home of Frau Hugo Reisinger, daughter of a millionaire brewer. Come on, this has got Tolemykus written all over it, for God's sakes. Daughter of a millionaire brewer of St. Louis, a German butler in the Reisinger home had constructed and operated the plant. He recently threw up his job and disappeared. A constant visitor at the house was Count Bernstorff. We just talked about him. For God's sakes, this is so freaking freaking cool. There were no infantry actions along the, I mean, this is, I'm just mind-bogglingly happy. There were no infantry actions along the French front on Saturday night, according to the Paris official dispatch. Artillery fire was intense between the Somme and the Aisne and in Champagne. The bombardment of Rheims was resumed by the Germans on Friday night and Saturday, when over 7,000 shells were hurled against the city. Oh, I remember reading this, but I don't remember reading the spy system one. 15 civilians were killed and many wounded. Yeah, because I remember going, holy shoot, that's a lot of shells in one day. For this part of the war, as far as I'm concerned, I'm okay. Like opening day of Verdun, no. Give me a break. Oh, here we go. Canadian troops early yesterday morning carried the famous Vimy Ridge in a big offensive in which the British line was advanced. So this is the 10th of April. Was advanced from 2 to 3 miles on a front. I mean, this article. On a front of about 12 miles, running from Henin on the Coujor River, 6 miles southeast of Arras, to Givenchy-en-Gohel, 6 miles northeast of Arras. The ground captured includes a network of fortified trenches and towns, the new front running north to south through Givenchy-en-Gohel. Felus, Althies, Fouchy, Chapelle de Fouchy, de Henin-sur-Cogel, and leaving it in the wake of the British attacking forces as they swept eastward, a chain of important fortified towns and positions. The fighting began at dawn on a wide front between Lens and Saint-Quentin, the post of honor at Vimy Ridge falling to the lot of the Canadians who for months, remember we were talking about elaborate preparations, who for months have been lying under the shadow. Oh, I didn't mention that, but they just remember it was like down to like in 28 minutes you'll take the first line. It was just nuts. And they did it. Well, not all of them, but you get it. Who for months have been lying under the shadow of the towering heights, which the French scaled in September 1915 in one of the most memorable and bloody engagements of the war. Unable at that time to carry the slopes on the farther side in face of big German reinforcements, the summit had to be abandoned. The British troops yesterday morning pushed forward in a heavy rainstorm, the misty weather rendering difficult the work of the air machines. Oh, wow, that's so cool. I don't think I've seen that as well, the air machines. Oh, my gosh. The air machines flying through a tornado of artillery fire. Wicked. The weight of the attack forced the enemy back on his strong rearguard lines, where he is fighting desperately to resist the terrific pressure on the northern section of the Hindenburg Line, which is swaying at its southern flank under the smashing blows of the Anglo-French armies before Saint-Quentin. The battle, which promises to put the new German line to the supreme test, is still raging. The British offensive has been delivered before Hindenburg had time to withdraw his northern line, to which heavy German reinforcements have been sent to withstand the increasing pressure which holds for weeks past the British, which has been, I think I did it right. Let's hold on here. To which heavy German reinforcements have been sent to withstand the increasing pressure, which for weeks past the British have brought to bear on the enemy positions. All right. Increasing in intensity for several days past as the big guns kept up a continuous bombardment in preparation for the infantry assault. Behind the battlefronts, as Philip Gibbs graphically relates, the bells of the village churches knolled to prayer while the sky of Easter morn was red with the glare of battle. Whoa, what a great scene. I should look that up. Hold on. I'm going to hit the pause button so I can put in Philip Gibbs. Oh yeah, I'm not sure. I think it's pretty darn sure. They even calculated how many minutes to wait for the guns to come back up, up to, to help support. Oh, it's just awesome stuff. Anyways, along the Vimy Ridge at Neuville-Saint-Vaast, above Saint-Nicolas and Blangy, suburbs of Arras, and southeast of the capital of Artois, on the ridge above the road to Cambrai, the deafening roar of the British guns never ceased as they blazed the way for the waiting troops, while over the enemy trenches, pillars of fire and cloud told of the deadly precision of the British gunners. On the edge of the battlefield, a French farmer plied his peaceful calling, plowing his field beside a village where German shells were bursting. both these paragraphs, I'm like, my God, man, these are like, you could do paintings of these things. Like, imagine a farmer planting. Oh my God, that'd be so cool to see that painting. Led by the I didn't know that tanks were, well, I didn't know I don't think they're part of Vimy Ridge. Maybe I'm wrong, like, I don't know. Oh, now I'm finding out, hopefully. Led by the famous tanks, the British infantry swept like well, I do say British, swept like an irresistible wave over the parapets across no man's land and over the enemy's positions, which for more than a year had resisted attack. So it must still be Vimy Ridge. Oh my gosh. Hindenburg's right flank yielded under the terrific impact. Strongholds, guns, and thousands of prisoners were gathered into the embracing arms of the advancing armies, the first fruits of the big spring offensive, which for after weary days of waiting had at last arrived. What a juxtaposition, eh? I'm sorry, embracing arms. It just sounds like, oh, I'm going to love you to death. Anyway, shush. The capture of Vimy Ridge has brought the Canadians to the crest of the hill, but the critical fight will be for possession of the slopes that lead down to the plains. Vimy Ridge, which reaches an altitude of 390 feet above Souchez, and of which the culminating point lies a half-mile farther west at an altitude of 460 feet. Oh my God, get the oxygen tanks out. Bars the way to the plains, while at the northern end of the Souchez Valley rise the dominating heights of Notre Dame de Lorette, towering 390 feet above the plain. I'm just thinking, I'm sorry, I'm being stilly, but it's like, oh my God, you better get the Alpini units out. Anyways, halfway up in the Vimy Ridge from Souchez is a sunken fence with a road running parallel with the crest. This has been turned into a strongly fortified trench by the enemy, its lower bank crowned with a parapet 15 feet high. Burrowing in deep dugouts on the slopes of the hill, the Germans had come to regard this hill as secure against attack. Over the crest, on the receding eastward slopes, the Canadians will be confronted with powerfully organized defenses protected with barbed wire, which behind the brow of the hill will be protected against artillery fire. The Canadians were supported by some famous British troops, says Stuart Lyon. He keeps popping up, doesn't he? Canadian press correspondent at the front in a lengthy dispatch from Canadian headquarters. Guns of the heaviest caliber were brought against the German positions to prepare the way for the troops. The enemy's trenches crumpled up under the terrific fire, the enemy suffering heavy losses. Throughout Easter week, the gunners worked with tireless energy. Elated by the coming of the day, some of the Canadians anticipated the attack by raiding the enemy in no man's land. In the gray dawn, the Canadians clambered over the parapet and advanced against the ridge, a distance of nearly a mile, holy shoot, in some places from trench to crest. Wave after wave swept up the shell-scarred hill, the Germans sending up SOS rockets. I didn't even know they had those, calling for reinforcements. The Canadians reached their objectives with slight losses. So maybe I would like to try to screw with the other side and sending up SOS rockets and telling my other side, don't believe the SOS rockets unless it's a certain, you know what I mean? Always trying to play the, oh yeah, let this guy really think that we're weak there. Send him into the slaughter. Anyways, about 6,000 prisoners were counted up to 2 p.m. yesterday. Of these, the Canadians accounted for 2,000. Wow. On the Cambrai Road, the British pushed up onto Demécourt village and made progress in the vicinity of Havrincourt Wood. The element of surprise seems to have played a big part in the success of the British offensive along the northern line. Well, they don't have to worry about that for the Nivelle offensive. Oh, brother. On the Saint-Quentin front, the British continued their advance, capturing the village of Pontrou and Vernier. General Hagas holds Vimy Ridge, which latest reports state has been cleared of the enemy and has driven a wedge into the Hindenburg line extended 5 miles east of Arras to a point 10 miles from Douai. Probably not, but oh well. Through heavy snowstorms, clad in sheepskins and great coats. Cool. The British troops are still advancing, taking heavy toll of the enemy in prisoners and guns. The new front, continually changing, ran at midnight from the outskirts of La Bassée, west of Lens, east of the Vimy Ridge, now strongly held by the Canadians, through Farbus, south of Vimy Town, and Famou and Monchy-le-Preux. 5 miles east of Arends, the British line now runs through the towns of Famou and Monchy-le-Preux, driving a wedge into the German line in the direction of Douai and Cambrai. The British front advancing on both sides of the Arras-Douai railway is now about 10 miles from the latter town. Fighting on Vimy Ridge was continued yesterday, and further progress made in the northern end of the ridge, where more prisoners and machine guns were captured. The enemy held to the northern slope, apparently down which the Canadians have fought their way to the plain. South of Vimy, the British have pushed forward to Farbus and Farbus Wood, from which the Germans were driven. Farbus is on the Lens-Vimy railway, and its occupation by the British rendered precarious the position of the Germans on the Vimy Ridge. The Canadians have cleared the eastern slopes of Vimy Ridge, which fall away precipitously, providing a natural defense against counterattacks. The Canadians now look down on the plain of Douai, a rich industrial and mining country, which the enemy is reluctant to relinquish. 11,000 prisoners and 100 guns is a conservative estimate of the captures in the last 2 days' fighting. The number of prisoners, it was expected, would reach a total of 15,000 at midnight. Of the guns taken, some are Krupp 8-inch guns. Trench mortars and machine guns were captured in considerable numbers. The fall of Vimy Ridge is a disastrous blow to the Germans, as it was that has been described as the hinge of the Hindenburg Line. That the Germans will make desperate efforts to regain the ridge is almost certain. Any retirement on this section of the line will be attended with grave risks to the enemy. Holy shit. I just got to say this, and this is for me on a side note with talking to Canadian historians and also other Canadians about the Great War. And the controversy about the fact that our big memorial in Europe is the Vimy Ridge, the Vimy Memorial. That's the biggie. And lots of people say, "Oh, it should be a different battle." I'm not savvy enough to tell you, knowledgeable enough to tell you which ones they are. But the amount of material that these guys have been talking about Vimy Ridge and the famous Vimy Ridge and all this other stuff already seems to supersede, or I'm wondering if a lot of these Canadian historians and whatnot don't know about this stuff that was written back then. So, I mean, this is good stuff. My God, this is good material. I mean, to do work with is what I'm trying to say. This isn't just for, you know what I mean? Like, I'm doing this because I love to impart whatever, and I'm loving doing whatever. But this is real stuff. This is good stuff in here, my friends. As far I 100% believe it. South of Arras, the British advance against Cambrai and to the dominating heights north of Saint-Quentin continues. In the direction of Cambrai, the British drove the line forward north of the village of Louverval. The enemy counterattacked at various points, but without success. Much of the success of the last 2 days was due to the British air scouts, who directed the fire of the guns and cooperated with the infantry by turning their machine guns against bodies of German troops hurrying up to reinforce the wavering German line. Oh my gosh. A large railway station used by the enemy was bombarded by British airmen. Hungry German soldiers, cut off by the fire of British guns from their supplies, were only too eager to surrender when the Canadians jumped into their trenches and dugouts. "Camarade, camarade," is probably what they said. The prisoners begged for food, holding up their hands over the dead bodies of their fallen comrades. Well, there you go. Unable to retire and unable to get relief or food, the Germans, dazed by the terrific cannonade, which had lasted for days and weak from hunger, surrendered in large numbers without fighting. In the machine gun readouts, the resistance was more stubborn. Under the terrible fire of the British guns, German organization was completely demoralized. It is a depressing week for the Berlin warlords. Added to the reverses on the Western Front is the knowledge, now brought home to the official mind in Germany. Oh, shit. Here we go. The pennies dropped, that the submarine campaign is of little military service to the fatherland. When submarine warfare on a more lawless basis than ever was revived, sober Germans frankly acknowledged that if this desperate plan to starve out Britain failed, Germany was lost. The submarine peril has inconvenienced the people of the British Isles by leading to rigid economies in the consumption of foodstuffs. But beyond this, it has not affected the military situation. Yes, I agree with that. But if you don't think, I was just talking with this about it with Meandering Mike. If you don't think the political and civil situation is not affecting the military situation, you've got another thing coming. The transport and supply ships pass to and fro, and the huge armies on the firing line never miss a meal. According to reports brought from Europe by visitors to this continent, the British have been capturing or destroying U-boats at the rate of one a day since the beginning of February, and laterally at a higher rate. And it's not just that. Even if you put them out of commission, they got to come back and get fixed up again and so on and so forth. As many as 23 enemy submarines have been accounted for in 1 week. Who cares if you've got 200 subs? How many are actually in the water doing something? You know what I'm saying? Cables with powerful bombs attached are most effective as dragnets. I didn't even know about that as well. As dragnets in destroying the submerged craft. Oh my God, that must be so weird watching the net coming towards you with a bomb. Oh my gosh. Although the Germans claim to be replacing the lost U-boats, boat for boat, British naval officers do not regard it as possible for Germany to provide experienced crews to the extent claimed. I'm a big fan of the coastal U-boat. Oh my gosh, man, I would have went down that road. I'm still going to do it in my world, in my narrative world. The Anglo-Russian armies in Mesopotamia are driving northward on the heels of the main bodies of the retreating Turks, who are retiring along the three rivers, Tigris, Diyala, and Adaim. The Russians have occupied Kizil-Robat, 80 miles northeast of Baghdad. In the Caucasus, the Russians are making progress. The Turks, retreating along the Diyala in the direction of Kifri, are reported to be planning an offensive in conjunction with the Turkish force on the left bank of the Tigris against the British army in the region between the Adaim and Diyala rivers, at the same time holding the Russian advance on the upper reaches of the Diyala. The Turks must be in considerable force, but it is unlikely they will succeed in driving a wedge between the British and Russian forces. Oh, don't worry, the Russians will do that all by themselves in a little while. Supplies for the Russian forces now operating in Mesopotamia can be distributed from the Persian Gulf base, thus greatly facilitating the progress of the Allied armies in their advance on Mosul. On April 8th, the British captured Balad, a station on the Baghdad-Samarra section on the railway 50 miles northward from Baghdad. The advanced guards pushed on for 4 miles beyond Balal station, occupying Herbe. There is reason to believe that the Turks may make a stand at Mosul. One important stage of the campaign in this region has been reached. I would assume they would. It's a monster junction between... Holy F, take a look at a map, dude. Sorry. One important stage of the campaign in this region has been reached. The chief interests of Berlin lie in the Persian Gulf, the Mediterranean of Asia. These are now secure against German and Turkish intrigue. Persia, through which German agents hope to create trouble in India, has been cleared of German influence and Turkish troops. The United States is considering ways and means of aiding the Allies in Europe. At present, it is felt immediate help can be given in the supply of foodstuffs and money. Well, you've been doing a lot of money, that's for sure, over the years. Holy F. the Council of National Defense, both actually as well. Oh my God. And I was also talking about this with Meandering Mike on a side note as well. And he looked it up, and I'm sure I'm going to forget about bringing it up later, so I'm going to bring it up now, which is the fact that I was at a lecture from the World War I Historical Association a few months ago, and one of them mentioned the fact that the United States were like in Oklahoma. Well, Meandering Mike reminded me of that specific state, and that they were starting to grow crops in areas they shouldn't have been growing crops, and that this is later going to facilitate the Dust Bowl later on. So it was like, whoa, this is neat. And here we are. The Council of National Defense is taking up the necessary steps to organize the munitions industries for the supply of arms and ammunition to the Allies, as well as for the equipment of the United States forces. And if I was a time traveler, I'd go back and put stock in shredded wheat before the war starts. I can tell you that much. Heavy and continuous snowfall, and I would sell up. Well, of course, you're a time traveler. You could do anything you wanted. Heavy and continuous snowfalls. I mean, why be so limited? Heavy and continuous snowfalls throughout the day prevented observation and slowed down the British offensive on the Arras front. Southeast of Arras, the British pushed on through the blinding snow, and I didn't know about that as well, and stormed and captured the village and heights. But it's been a long, interesting, well, same up here as well this year, ironically, and heights of Monchy-le-Preux and the neighboring village of La Bergère. German prisoners stated that their orders were to hold Monchy-le-Preux at all costs. Twice the Germans counterattacked, and twice were they driven back. These heights command the Arras-Cambrai road, as well as the marshy plain of Douai. Hindenburg has heavily reinforced his wavering northern flank, which has stiffened the German defense considerably. But the British hold both ends of the chain of heights between Vimy and Monchy-le-Preux against all attacks of the enemy. Farther south at Bouilcourt, the British penetrated the enemy line, but had to retire before a superior force thrown into the gap by the German commander. In this successful counterattack, the German troops suffered heavy losses by being forced to advance through a British barrage. The capture of Monchy-le-Preux village was by a flank attack. Pushing along the north bank of the Scarpe, the British turned the enemy's position and crossed the river. The garrison made a stiff fight, but withdrew to the heights beyond during the night as soon as the British secured a footing in the village. Next morning, the British stormed and captured the heights and drove the enemy to La Bergère and across the Arras-Cambrai road. Oh my God, we're at the last page. To Guipont, which it is officially reported are now held by General Haig's men. In the fighting at Bouilcourt, west of Cambrai, from which the British admit having been forced to withdraw before German reinforcements, 1,000 British prisoners and 25 machine guns were captured, according to an official report from Berlin. No confirmation of these losses has been received. The decisive battle of the war, the Germans believe, is now being waged on the Arras front. With his line ruptured, a further withdrawal by Hindenburg is looked for. The fierce fighting which will characterize the latter stages of the campaign is now opening. But on all hands, the superiority of the British guns is admitted. Once in position, no defenses yet devised by German military engineers can stand against their devastating fire. Bread riots in Germany are reported from Aix-la-Chapelle, where 200 of the rioters were killed or wounded. The unofficial report comes from Amsterdam. Oh, wouldn't that be interesting? I wonder if that's the other little interesting little neutral source for Mexico about the subs, in which it is stated that I'm looking for maybe a partial naval connection in, like, who is going to go around there. I'm going to go take a look later. I hope. I say this all the time. Neuroplasticity. In which I will do it. In which it is stated that that the town hall of Aix-la-Chapelle was set on fire. Concurrently with these reports of bread riots come reports of interviews with German prisoners taken in the fighting at Arras. These prisoners admit that the morale of the German army is below par, and that the Hohenzollern dynasty has fewer friends in the German army since the series of retreats and reverses that has marked the opening of the spring campaign. On the eastern slope of the Vimy Ridge, the Canadian advance is halted by the powerful defenses of the enemy in Vimy Town, which is the gateway to the plain below. Following the plan adopted at Monchy, the British are pushing forward their wings in an enveloping movement. As soon as the big guns come into action, the town of Vimy and the plain beyond will be untenable. The midnight report of Stuart Lyon, the Canadian press correspondent at the front, shows that the Canadians are making headway on the northern flank of the British offensive. Oh my God, on a side note, wouldn't it be funny if some weird way Stuart Lyon could get a job with the non-partisan newspaper of Germany? Oh my God, that'd be so funny. Talk about a conflict of interest there. British merchant vessels sunk for 1 week aggregate, what the Germans set out to sink in 1 day. This shows the failure of the German submarine blockade. The official returns for the past week states that 19 British merchant vessels in all were sunk during that period, including 17 of more than 1,600 tons each and 2 less than this tonnage. Nearly 5,000 vessels of all nationalities of 100 tons and over arrived at or sailed from British ports during the past week. During the past 6 weeks, 90... There's the number, my number, pa-boom! Love you to bits, baby. And I didn't even know it was going to happen. I love it. During the past 6 weeks, 97 vessels. Well, mind you, remember, it was about the interned German ships. And I was like, oh, maybe it's a miscount. And ba-boom, my favorite, not one of my favorite numbers, 97. Vessels of more than 1,600 tons each were sunk and 43 of less than tonnage. Oh my God, what a great... Oh, this has been one of my best, for me anyways. This is pure indulgence. Oh, man, that was nice to see. A British mission to the United States, headed by the Foreign Secretary, Mr. A.J. Balfour, is on the way and will shortly arrive, according to an official Washington report. Hold on here. A British mission to the United States. Okay. I decided to know which way it was going because I know there's been a lot of back chat. Shush. It has been found more satisfactory in this campaign for Britain to exchange opinions with their allies through special missions than through correspondence. After his trip to Petrograd, Lord Milner stated in an interview that exchange of opinions by... Oh, man, I hope to God this recorded. Lord Milner stated in an interview that exchange of opinions by word of mouth is capable of obtaining more results in a few days than correspondence would give in 6 months. No kidding. Mr. Balfour is particularly qualified to represent Britain on this side. That's because personality, man. Come on, man. There's so many intangibles. His official reply to President, mind you, if you're a good writer and whatnot, I mean, look at Shakespeare. Oh my God. And I wanted to mention Shakespeare. Hopefully I do later on. I did during the live stream about one of the commenters. Anyways, Mr. Balfour is particularly qualified to represent Britain on this side. His official reply to President Wilson's peace proposals was one of the great documents of the war. His charm of manner, persuasive powers, and keen analytical mind, combined with a natural gift for debating naughty points, should go for... I know it's not that way. I mean, naughty. It's just because if nobody's reading or, looking at the screen, they're just hearing, they'd be like, ooh, naughty points. Like, what's he talking about? No, it's KNOTTY. Should go far to make his mission a success, but you never know. Opinion has been slowly but steadily forming in the United States as to whether the Republic should join the Allies or wage war independently of them. Wow, really? Really? Oh, wow. What the hell? How the hell would you do that then? Oh, maybe they're talking. Anyways, small minority of the American newspapers favors independent action on the ground that American aims in this war. But then think about what would happen to you later on at the Treaty of Versailles, particularly as the term. Oh, there it is. As the terms of peace do not harmonize with those of allied nations. the great bulk of the, oh my God, I'm thinking. I just, some days I'm like, my God, Chris, out of the times I make so many historical inaccuracies and so many screw ups and so many whatevers. Once in a while, when I see my mind starting to think, I'm like, my God, you're growing. The great bulk of the American newspapers, however, including the leading journals, boldly advocate alliance with the nations now fighting the Central Powers. The Flag de France party, is clearly in the ascendant. We are bound to cooperate with the Allies is the conclusion of the New York World, which reminds American objectors to the British Navy the United States is indebted for whatever measure of safety its mercantile fleet obtains against German submarines. In England, there is a feeling that America can best aid by helping financially and by the cooperation of her navy with the navies of the Allies. But France looks for military aid. Fascinating. I know I'm about to close that up, but that's interesting, isn't it? Like, I'm wondering, like, where, like, is that revealing their long, grand, strategic worldview wishes? Like, England wants you to, no, give us, this is interesting. All right, hope that went well. Super went well for me at the end when I saw 97. Holy F, that was great. All right, see you later. Hope that went well. Great weekend, remainder of your weekend, great week. See you later for 116. Woo-hoo.